drinking and talking.
Just like
Cat Williams. Yeah. He's telling everything like, woo.
What's going on, people? We back at it again. So we got the boss in the cut today. And we're gonna try to get inside her head and see if we can make it happen. So we got Miss Kim Richardson in the building today. Shout out to Kim. Clap for yourself with nobody else.
Absolutely, you gotta clap for yourself.
So Miss Kim, we got a couple of questions. Hopefully you got some answers. I'm sure you got some answers. Where are you from?
I am from Cleveland, Ohio.
Cleveland, Ohio.
Cleveland,
In the
Ohio.
town,
Born
in the
and
house.
raised, St. Clair Avenue, 91st and St. Clair.
Okay.
Born and raised.
St. Clair. That was Bone Thugs and Harmony, right?
Down the street.
Did you know them?
I knew they're older siblings.
Okay.
Yeah, they're younger than I am.
Okay. And so you was born in St. Clair, East St. Clair.
East 91st.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Bone Thugs and Harmony, they was our thing back in the day.
Yeah.
So, what high school did you go to?
Glenville.
Glenville?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, shout out to Glenville.
Shout out to Glenville.
In Ohio, people in the house.
Tar Blooders in the house.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And what kind of student were you? Because I got to ask that. Because you're so small, I just got. They don't know you. I know you.
What do you think I was?
Okay, all right. So like, judging from how I know you, I would say A and B. Yeah, A, B.
I was a good student. I didn't get in no trouble.
Okay.
I was a good kid. Honor roll, honors programs.
Okay.
All of that stuff.
All right. Because I'm trying to build it up. Because they need to know how smart you are now. All right. So, A-B honor roll, okay. And you did pretty well in life. And then you moved to Birmingham.
Yeah.
My mother,
I moved here in 2003. My brother and I. But my mother is from Fairfield.
Your mother's from Fairfield?
My family's out of Fairfield.
Well, how you get in Ohio?
My mother moved to Cleveland.
Okay.
After she finished high school. And so me and all my siblings were born in Cleveland. And then my mother moved back. Most of her siblings and most of our relatives on my mother's side stayed here in Alabama.
Okay.
I mean, they were in the military and things like that, but my mother was the only one, I think, who moved away.
How many brothers and sisters you have?
There's 4 of us.
Okay.
I got an older sister. Shout out to Shell. She's still in Cleveland.
Okay.
And then my younger brother and sister. You know my sister.
Yeah, I know.
Shout out to Tracy.
Yeah, shout out to Tracy. Yeah.
And then I have my brother is the youngest, so there's 4 of us.
Okay, I never met your brother.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you moved here, and you started on your way. So when you got here, what did you do?
When I came here, I had a job offer from the city of Birmingham. So I worked in the Department of Community Development, and that's how I met a lot of people that I know in Cleveland, in Birmingham.
Okay.
Was working as grants manager, grants coordinator in the Department of Community Development for the city of Birmingham.
So you work with grants?
Yes.
Okay.
I've been working with grants.
Okay, so
my whole career, pretty much.
Got to doing the grants and made a name for yourself. Because I remember when you decided to leave the city of Birmingham.
Yeah, I stayed at the city for 4 years.
Okay.
And I was like, and I had always been doing grants sort of on the side.
Mm-hmm.
So it was always sort of a side gig doing consulting. And then in 2007, I knew it was time to leave the city.
Yeah.
And so I said I could either go find another job or explore doing the consulting thing for full time. And so I decided to try the consulting thing full time.
Okay, so you consult on how to write grants or?
Grant writing, grants management, training, and technical assistance. So grants is like at the core of the business. We mainly specialized in federal grant applications. So we work with clients all over the state of Alabama, plus across the country, really.
Okay.
Mainly specializing in writing federal grant applications to federal agencies. But then we also provided support when organizations receive grant awards. We help them with grants management, keeping them out of trouble, staying in compliance, meeting all the requirements of their grant awards. Also doing board training, strategic planning for everything that was built around nonprofit organizations and government agencies.
All right, so you have a vast knowledge of grants. You can write all kind of grants.
I wrote a book on grants.
You wrote a book?
Yes.
Okay.
The official federal grants prep guide. Because I realized there was nothing that was really out there that was easy to digest, but could help explain the process for securing federal grants.
So where can they find your book?
It's out of print now because that's been almost 10 years ago. But you can still find it on Amazon. If you're an Amazon Prime member, you got free access to the books. You can download it, or you can still purchase the electronic copy.
So what we need you to do is we need you to go on Amazon and purchase this book or ask for this book so we can get some more purchase orders, because it's people out here that really would like to know how to write grants.
Yeah, it's a good place to start. And even if you aren't ready for federal grants, it's really about how to be competitive. So whether you're writing federal grant applications or going after grants from your local community foundation, it's still a great resource to just say, here's like 10 things that you should really have in place if you want to look at going after grants.
How much is your book?
It was $19.99. It's probably less than that as an ebook. I haven't checked it recently. That's a good question. I know every month
Maybe you need to research it.
Someone just asked me to do an update.
Yeah, because you got so many people that need these grants for their business, for their food truck, for their, so you might need to resurface it or make part 2.
Someone said it's time to do a new version, to update it. There's some information that we would definitely update, but this is the second time it's been brought up in a month, so maybe that's a sign.
That's confirmation. And I wasn't there at the conversation now.
That's true.
So look, $20 can keep you from having to spend $100,000 on a federal fine or some jail time for you writing that grant.
Or to hire a consultant.
Or you can hire a consultant.
But I'm just saying, buying the book is a lot less than what it's going to cost you to hire a consultant to tell you the information that's in the book.
I guess most of the time people don't think about a consultant. They go ahead and try to do it themselves, and
which is fine.
Now the 3 little boys done came out to them. Now they want to call you, me Kim.
I can't help you then.
Can't help you then.
I can't help you then.
Well, what it is that they call optimal tax relief. Trying to get them
somebody. I don't know who's gonna be able to help you then. Yeah.
So now you moved on from writing grants, and then what did you start doing?
It was interesting because in 2003, at the end of 2022, I decided I wanted to take a sabbatical. Like I was feeling really burnt out, really overwhelmed, like a lot of people at the end of the pandemic. And I said I was going to think about taking a year off from grant writing, from work, period, and just like spend the year doing whatever it was that I wanted to do. And I had already been teaching yoga. I've been teaching yoga since 2018. And so I just decided that 2023 would be the year that I'd like focus on teaching yoga, finish some of the training that I was doing, classes that I wanted to take, and just step away from the consulting business to decide if that was something that I wanted to continue, because as of 2023, it had been 16 years in business. So it was a big separation to make that decision to step away from something that I've been doing 16 years full-time as a consultant, but really over 25 years as a career.
So I have to ask these questions because some of these things I know and they don't know. But I just gotta put this out there. Where all? Oh no, that's not what I want to ask. Who all have you written grants for? Like I know you was doing other.
The better question might be, who haven't I written?
Yeah, who haven't? Because I know you was writing in other countries and all that stuff.
Yeah, we did some international work. We worked with the CDC. We did training for grantees of the CDC when we went to South Africa and Johannesburg. Did some consulting with consultants in Uganda, in Kampala, but worked with clients all over the country, from Ohio to California, Florida, all over the state of Alabama, working with colleges and universities, hospital systems, nonprofit organizations, New York, Harlem, school districts. Yeah.
Man, that's very impressive. I had to like, because I know some places, but I'm like, I mean, just like, so you're like an international grant writer if you want to be.
Yeah, I got international in the title. Once we did that work in Johannesburg, and shout out to my mentor, shout out to all mentors. If you're in business, I hope you have a mentor. To my mentor, Dr. Bev Browning, who was really instrumental in asking me to work on that project with her. So we partnered on that project, and she knew I had a passport, so she knew I was ready. So lesson in business, always be ready. You know, if you're ready, you don't have to get ready, right? And so she knew I had a passport. She knew I traveled. She knew it wouldn't be an issue for me having any qualms about heading overseas. She knew I had traveled to Africa before, so I didn't have any concerns about, you know, going to the motherland and going to the continent to do some work. And so we partnered together on that, and we trained candidates or grantees from maybe about 20 different countries that came to Johannesburg, and then we went and spent some time in Cape Town until before we came back to the States.
Man, that's so impressive. Some people can't leave outside their little community. You're all in other countries writing grants. You know, that's very impressive.
Get your passport.
Yeah. Everybody's going. Everybody's gonna be calling because that's so impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah, you gotta go and start back.
People are asking me, am I back?
Yeah, you gotta come up out of retirement like
I've
Jordan.
got a couple of folks I'm having some conversations. Some of my longtime clients that I really enjoyed working with, I've started some conversations with them, but I haven't taken on any new clients in over a year.
You gotta come back out of retirement.
That's what they keep telling me. But I'm enjoying where I am. Where I am.
So from grant writing to yoga, like that's a big leap. Not really, but you know, I mean.
Yes and no, but here's the thing. As a single mom, divorced mom, running a business, I mean, you know the challenges of running a business from, you know, pay people you have to pay, how you promote yourself, all the things that you have to be responsible for. It's stressful. Anybody who's been in business for themselves will tell you that it's not for the faint of heart. And so trying to find a way to balance that out, I started doing yoga first. And so, because I'd always heard, you know, yoga was good for stress and things like that, so I was like, let's give yoga a try. And so I started taking it a few places. So I've been practicing probably about 10 years, and then teaching for the last 6 years, because the problem was when I started moving out of the gym, like the YMCA, which always has a yoga class, to like yoga studios, the studios didn't feel very welcoming for Black people. As a Black person, it didn't feel very welcoming for me, I'll say that. And so, and I couldn't find any Black yoga teachers. I was like, how are we in a city that's almost 3/4% Black, and you can't find a Black yoga teacher? So
you're saying, like, as a student, and you going to these other yoga studios, they didn't make it really welcome.
I didn't feel welcome, and when I looked around the studio, I didn't see anybody who looked like me.
Yeah.
And so I was like, where are all the yoga teachers? Now, fast forward later on, I found that there were some Black yoga teachers who were here before, but most of them aren't working in studios.
Yeah.
Most of them are teaching at a community rec center or in the park or at their church. Traditionally, a lot of yoga studios have not felt like really welcoming spaces.
Yeah. So I gotta ask this question: How can yoga help in everyday life for the ones who don't know that yoga? I mean, how can it help me?
I think the first thing to know is that most people's perception of yoga is skewed. When you ask the average person what yoga is, they think of it as fitness, as exercise, as something for people who are thin and super flexible, right? It's doing headstands and sitting in a lotus pose or putting your foot behind your head. And that's just what we call one limb or one path of yoga, is the yoga poses. But yoga involves things like your breath, how you breathe.
Really?
Yeah, that's a huge part. So I tell people, if you can sit and breathe, you can do yoga. That's all that's required. Meditation, focusing on your senses, concentration. So just by doing something like asking a person to close their eyes, slow down their breath, become mindful, just focusing on the sounds that you hear in the space, things like that. All those things can just become what we call grounding, centering, settling. So it lowers your blood pressure. It lowers your heart rate.
Just sitting there in a calm position.
Yeah.
And just being quiet. And just
relaxing your
relaxing
body.
my body.
Relax your shoulders. Most people don't realize.
Are you relaxing your body and your shoulders?
Yeah. Take a few minutes. Just
and
take
just
a deep
relax.
breath. You feel better.
Yeah,
I mean, and if you think about it, if you think about people who have like panic attacks or anxiety attacks, I mean, what is that? It's hyperventilation, right? It's these short, fast breaths where you can't catch your breath and, you might feel like you're having a heart attack or different symptoms like that. So something as simple as slowing down your breath, taking a long exhale, activates what we call parasympathetic nervous system. So it's that part of your nervous system that triggers a relaxation response. If you're getting chased by a dog, trust me, you're not taking long breaths. You're taking fast, quick breaths, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the opposite of that is when you take long, deep breaths, it has a relaxing effect.
Mm-hmm.
And in the beginning, when yoga began, wherever you want to consider it beginning, yoga was really just about breathing and meditation.
Mm-hmm.
The poses didn't come till later on.
The first time I saw yoga, was when Russell Simmons was doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, yoga, what is that?
Yeah.
It's just like he just sitting there just meditating or something like that. But like he used to get into all the poses and the sauna and all that stuff.
Yeah. And when you look at the history of yoga, there's a long history of many black people doing yoga. One of the most interesting things, especially us being here in Birmingham, when we talk about the civil rights movement, Rosa Parks practiced yoga.
Really?
A long time practitioner of yoga. And she didn't start until she was older. But there are pictures, you can go online and Google it. A lot of it came out during Black History Month, but there's pictures of her she had a carpet. She didn't even have a yoga mat then, doing yoga poses. Angela Davis, when she was in prison, awaiting trial and going through her trial, she started practicing yoga in prison.
I saw, and the monks, they kind of do some type form of yoga, right?
Yeah, there's different styles of yoga. And that's the other thing that a lot of people don't realize that I think is really important, because now you have more doctors that are recommending go do some yoga.
Okay.
Like if you're under a lot of stress, go do yoga.
It'll help calm down.
It'll help you deal with
blood
stress.
pressure.
It'll lower your blood pressure. It'll help take some stress off your life. What they don't say is what kind of yoga class to go take.
Okay.
So if you show up for a power Ashtanga yoga class, which is a very high intensity, very structured way of doing yoga, then you probably never come back to another yoga class, right? Because you just got in, you're over your head probably to begin.
Probably.
And so most people will be like, oh, I tried yoga before, I didn't like it, okay? But most people don't realize that there are many different styles of yoga, some that are very intense and high powered, and some that are very relaxing and restorative, where you don't do a whole lot of movement. Maybe you only do a handful of poses. Maybe you hold those poses longer. Maybe you got a lot of props and pillows to support your body. And yoga is for anybody. I work with people who are wheelchair users. I'm working with UAB on a study for people who are living with ALS, which is Lou Gehrig's disease, just focusing on breathing, seeing what kind of impact that can have on their life.
Yeah, I've never really thought about yoga like that. Kind of not really. But where I live, they have a yoga room. They have a nice size gym. They have a yoga room too. And so my daughter, she takes yoga all the time. It's the funniest thing. But she says she's at yoga and she's going to the gym. I'm like, you so little, you don't need all this stuff. Dad, yes I do. So I'm like,
and it has nothing to do with
I just be messing with it.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with size.
Yeah. Because
there's a lot of bias about, again, like I said, yoga is about fitness and being thin and being flexible. And honestly, it's something that white women do, right? So a lot of men feel like yoga is for women. A lot of black women or women of color feel like, oh, that's not really something that black women
Well,
do.
we the ones with all the stress and
exactly.
high blood pressure and cholesterol.
And I'm so glad you came to that point, because this is what it comes back to is there's a ton of research. Any day of the week you can go out there and do a search of all this research that has been done around yoga being great if you have high blood pressure, yoga being great if you're highly stressed, yoga being great if you have depression, yoga being great if you have cardiovascular disease, all diabetes, all the things that largely affect our community. But our communities are not where you find yoga studios. So how can we bring yoga to our communities and engage people who could really benefit, who probably didn't think that they could benefit, and in a way that feels accessible and inclusive and welcoming for them, so that they'll come back again.
What's a price for yoga?
It depends. I know some of the classes that I was teaching were donation optional classes, because I didn't want cost to be a barrier. If people really wanted to try yoga, they could do it for free, or they could give a donation, and it was at Hawkins Rec Center that we were doing a weekly class, and we secured yoga mats. So if you didn't even have a yoga mat, that wouldn't be a barrier either. So you could just come to the class. On average, if you look around the Birmingham community, it's probably going to cost anywhere from $15 to $25 for a class in a studio. And then some studios have discount rates, or what they call community classes, that you can make a donation or the class is free. And, if you feel like it's something that you want to go and do all the time, you can practice, purchase a package, classes, or a monthly membership that would cover unlimited. So it just depends on how often you want to do yoga.
Well, my next question is, after yoga, where do you see yourself?
That's a really good question. That's the thing that I'm working out now.
Okay.
That's the thing that I'm working out now. Right now, I'm really immersed in all things that are related to health and wellness in our community, because I think it's such an important thing to be talking about. You look around our communities, every other block is a dialysis center. Diabetes is epidemic, hypertension is epidemic, depression is epidemic, all the things. Like, we can run off the whole list. And so how do we begin to give access, because people are also looking for ways to get off medications when possible.
Some people think you can't change being on medication. Like, you can't reverse diabetes, you can't do this, you can't. But they just don't know, like, this is what you do.
Right.
So now we're going to switch over and go to herbalist. What's an herbalist?
An herbalist is a person who's trained in the use and application and has knowledge of medicinal herbs. So natural plants that grow out of the earth, to know how they can be used to benefit a person's health, that can be used for prevention, to help prevent disease, but can also be used in helping to try to reverse some diseases that people experience.
Yeah, so now you got the herbalist part and then the health and wellness part.
It's all tied up.
It's all tied up.
It's all tied up together. I see it
Okay.
as one big package, because, a person who a lot of people who come to my yoga classes, recently I've had people share that they recently had a stroke, or they had high blood pressure, or they're dealing with depression, or something that they've talked to their doctor about, where they have some medical condition, and they're coming to yoga as a way to try to address that. And so usually people are also looking, nobody wants to be on medication. Medication is necessary in some instances, but a lot of people are working to try to reverse some of it, so maybe you can reduce the number of prescription medications that you're on, or eliminate medications altogether.
But that's when herbalists come in, right?
That's when herbalists can come into play. But you really have to be careful, because you really want to work with somebody who's trained, who has apprenticed with other folks who are knowledgeable, that they're not just going out here on Google, right, and saying,
Sure is a lot of those.
X is good for Y, without realizing that herbs are powerful medicine.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people think because herbs are natural, that everybody can take anything. And I've heard that a lot, where people are just like, yeah, it's all natural, so it's fine. Anybody can take it, which is not true.
I mean, I have a cousin, that's what he does. And, you know, a lot of people kind of get into, like, getting away from medicine because, like, when you take a lot of medicine, it's like, oh, these are side effects that go along with it afterwards. You're like, man, why you? You know, like these doctors, they prescribe you a lot of medicine, then afterwards they say, oh, well, you go back and you say, well, this medicine right here, it makes me do it. You know what? Let me put you on something else.
Right. Yeah. You start with one thing, and then that creates a side effect, and then they give you another medication to try to address the side effect. It can cause damage to your liver, to your organs. You know.
So why did you put me on this in the first place?
Yeah, but that's the way doctors are trained, right? And so it's what we call allopathic medicine, where it's like usually that's the first thing doctors, you identify something that's wrong. The doctor wants to identify something that they can prescribe. Most of the time, doctors aren't talking to you saying, well, what's going on with you, right? Like, what's happening in your life? What's your diet like? How much stress are you under right now? And that's the benefit if you work with a trained herbalist. That's the approach that an herbalist is going to want to take. They're going to want to do an intake. Like, if you call an herbalist and you say, hey, I've got this going on, what can I take for this?
Yeah.
Then they're really going to want to say to you, hey, let's sit down and have a conversation so we can kind of piece your whole picture together, because it might not be what you think it is. It might just be like you under so much stress, right? If you can reduce your stress, maybe you can sleep better. Yeah.
I mean, and really, until we started seeing Dr. Sabi, you know, a lot of folks didn't really know about herbs. They didn't believe it. They think it's witchcraft and voodoo and all that stuff. So they didn't really believe into it. And then when a lot of the rappers started going to him, a lot of different people started, they was like, wait a minute. By that time, it was over. They was already on him.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I think that's a really important thing to bring up, because there's that whole part of our history that a lot of people have moved away from and that have been lost. But if you go back just a couple of generations to our grandmothers, maybe our great-grandmothers, you had midwives.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Midwives that were delivering babies in the community. Shout out to midwives. And many of them were also herbalists. Right? Many of them were also the doctors in the community, because you couldn't go to the hospital. Right? Maybe there wasn't a hospital for black people in the community, where especially if you lived in a rural community. So, you know, and probably for most of us, at least those of us of a certain age, if you look back to your childhood, there's probably a lot of those elements that were there. It's just not what you call. So, for instance, if you had a sore throat, did your grandmother or your mother ever say gargle with some warm salt water?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we mostly had Vicks 44D.
Yeah, that too. That came along.
We had castor oil.
Castor oil is an example.
I'm gonna tell you something that happened to me one time. I got sick. And the man said, I'm gonna make you some up. He made up mint and wheat tea. You know what mint and wheat tea is? So you ain't supposed to think about it. You drink it up, you put it in your tea, and then you strain it real good and you drink it. You know what that is? It's cow manure. Made it to a tea. And I'm like, man. The way he made it up, though, like, I'll tell you, grandmama and granddad, they had some herbs and stuff that they used. Yeah. Like, see, dandelion.
I just posted about dandelion. A lot of people are spending a lot of money getting the yard man to spray their yard and kill the dandelions and all that kind of stuff. But now you have people drinking dandelion root tea. Eating dandelion leaves, which is good for
my
liver,
grandma used to go
kidneys.
outside and get, it looked like collard greens in the yard.
Poke salad.
Poke salad.
Yeah.
Yep.
Poke salad, a lot of folks grew up eating.
Yeah.
Have to be careful with poke. You know, you have to know what you're doing with poke.
Oh, with the poke salad?
It can be toxic.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, if you don't know
so what you have to do, like, how you...
There's a certain way you have to rinse it and prepare it and cook it and rinse it, and I don't prepare it, but I grew up with my grandmother cooking
my
it,
grandma
and
used
there's
to-
definitely a way that you have to prepare it, otherwise you don't have a problem on your hand. But this is what I was saying as far as, you know, like, just because it's natural don't mean it can't cause some unwanted side effects if you don't know how to process or how to prepare it. You have to really understand what's going on.
So my mama, she used to do, it wasn't a red dirt. It was one of those dirt where you had to sift it and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm saying that it's some people had some real
People used to eat red clay. That's
red
where
clay. It was red clay dirt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because that was an iron deficiency.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I think she did that when she was pregnant with my sister.
Yeah.
So that's what it was for.
Definitely a time that you probably have iron deficiency. A lot of people who like to chew ice. I know a lot of people give me a cup of ice from Milo's. They got the best ice. That's usually a sign of iron deficiency. If you are a person who likes to chew ice, you might want to go to your doctor and get your blood work done. That's usually a sign of anemia.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right. So something we missed too. Your daughter.
Yeah.
Very, very, very highly intelligent. I know you're very proud of her because she's a real offspring of you. You know. So shout out to your daughter. What is her name?
Richardson. Shout out to Imani Richardson.
I want you to say her name.
Yeah.
Yeah. So shout out to Imani. And she's done very well in life. She's been, you got on through school.
Yes.
Now, traveling is the new black.
Yeah.
Now, what's that all? Some people may not ever see. Only place I don't think you've been is Antarctica.
I haven't been to Antarctica yet.
Yeah,
but I don't like cold weather
the
either.
They say you can't go over there. But go ahead anyway.
I have a Facebook group and a page called Traveling is the New Black because I was traveling a lot before the pandemic. And people were just asking questions. They were thinking I was a travel agent. I'm like, no, I'm not a travel agent.
At first, I thought you was a travel agent.
Yeah, a lot of people thought I was a travel agent. I was just traveling.
To be honest with you, I'm a travel agent.
Okay.
I just don't work the business. I'm going to get in trouble saying it. I just don't work the business. I'm going to start working it because I'm getting in trouble because she's been calling me.
Yeah. I did it for enjoyment. Another way to relax stress was to travel, to step away from the work sometimes.
I like traveling. It's fun.
Yeah.
If I can fly. I don't like to drive.
I like both.
Yeah.
But I spent a lot of time traveling around the globe to different countries just to explore. So that's how that got started. And a lot of people thought that I was organizing trips, and I'm like, no.
I mean, but you could though.
I could.
Without being a travel agent.
But I didn't want to take something I enjoyed and turn it into something that was going to become stressful.
A business like
trying to organize travel for other people.
Okay.
I wanted to just be able to enjoy traveling.
So we done touched on all this stuff.
Yeah.
What's next?
Next is just figuring out how to continue the conversation around health and wellness, because I think that's the most important thing that's front and center. So a lot of times I feel like I'm moving in 100 different directions, doing 100 different things, but really what it all comes back to is wellness, right? Like how we get more wellness in our communities, how we facilitate more conversations around health and wellness in our communities, how we can do individual work to keep and make ourselves healthy, but also how we can work collectively with each other to get ourselves healthy, because a lot of that work needs to happen in community.
A question that I always ask, and I'll continue to ask it. If you had to tell a younger you something, or a younger person, or a person in business, what advice would you give?
Wow. About business specifically, or
About
just
business,
to my
life, whatever. Just a word of advice. A quick word of advice.
Start caring about yourself early, your health earlier. Because when you're young, you don't think too much about it. Like, you party, you club, you drink, you go out to eat at midnight, and especially if you have the blessing of being healthy as a young person, you don't think anything is ever going to change, right? And then as we begin to get older, right, things start coming on, and then you're like, oh, well, I wish I'd done a better job. I wish I hadn't lived so hard so fast. So if I was to talk to my better self, I'd say probably just slow down a little bit. Like, don't drink as much, don't party as much, don't, you know, just sleep more. Like, living off 3 hours of sleep, you know, a lot of times that's, I'll pay for it later, I'll sleep later, you know, is one of the worst things that we did. I think that's really one of my platforms right now, is talking to people about getting more sleep.
Yeah.
Like, I think people don't prioritize getting enough rest when they think about how they can improve their health. They think about what they're eating, which is important. They think about movement and exercise, which is important. But they're really not thinking usually about how they can reduce their stress and how much sleep plays a role in your health.
You know, sometimes I sleep good, sometimes I don't.
A lot of people don't.
And I don't like to sleep long. Like, I don't like to sleep 8 hours. I just don't. At least about 4 or 5 hours good for me. Because it's just better for me.
Do you take a nap during the day?
I take a lot of good naps.
Okay, well, they say sometimes sleep can't have an cumulative effect. I believe that it can. So if you're waking up after 5 hours, but you're taking a 2-hour nap during the day, then you can sort of add it together. Okay. But if you think about it from the perspective of when we sleep, it's just like a lot of people who are doing intermittent fasting now. When you give your body a rest, that's when your body is able to do its healing work. When you sleep, that's when your body is doing the healing work. If you not getting enough sleep, you basically shortchanging yourself.
Is it better to take pills at night before you go to sleep? Like, just say you, like medicine or something like that. Is it better to take it at night?
It depends on medicine. Right? It depends on the herb. Like, some medications or even vitamins and supplements should be taken with a meal, as opposed to just drinking it with water. Like, if you're taking vitamin D, a lot of people are vitamin D deficient, and a lot of people take vitamin D supplements. But vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin, which means you need to be taking it with a source of fat, which means you should be eating when you take that. Otherwise, it's just kind of going straight through your system and you're not absorbing. So for something that needs to be taken with a meal, you probably don't want to take before you go to bed. Some things should be taken on an empty stomach. Some things should be taken.
Have a, I mean, really, like, your knowledge is impeccable. But I just want to tell you thank you for coming on. I really do appreciate you. And we've been knowing each other how long?
Around 21 years. I think you were one of the first people that I met when I moved, and it's been 21 years this month.
Well,
yeah.
Hopefully in 21 years, since I was one of the first, hopefully in 21 years, I've made a good impression.
Well, we're still hanging.
We're still hanging.
Here I am at 8 o'clock at night, having a conversation with you. Yeah, I appreciate you inviting me to have this conversation.
Yeah, I really, I'm glad I did. You know, like I said, I always tell people about you. I have always told people about, you know, the grant writing. And it's my name. I said, I tell them your number. I can tell you the number. You know, I don't have to look it up. But
as you having all them folks calling me.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just like this. When I'm impressed by somebody and they have knowledge, you know, I have had some great people on, and they're gonna have more great people on, you know. But it's a lot of people that's got some knowledge that nobody knows. Nobody knows who they are, what they do, and then when you hear, you're like, man, I didn't know she. I mean, all out of the country writing grants, so you know, hey. But I just really thank you for coming on. You know, we'll have you back on again once you start writing grants. And you can tell us the do's and don'ts of grants.
But here's the thing. People ask me, like, people like to keep track of the numbers. When I stopped tracking how much money I had raised, it had been like over $125 million.
So you raised over $125 million?
Of grants secured and grants managed for our clients over the years.
That's crazy.
What I would like to do, that's a huge impact. And I'm really proud of all the work that I've done and all the great, and that was without marketing. I mean, you've probably never seen a Kimberly Richardson Consulting ad.
No.
Right? It's 16 years in business, you've never seen a Kimberly Richardson. But that's because of the pride that we took in the work, and most importantly, that our ability to secure money, right? Because you can be a grant writer, but if you ain't bringing no money in.
But your your love and your passion for grant writing is still there. I can tell it.
Yeah, because I know the impact of what it does. So much of what I've learned about this community, about this state, about what happens in this nation is because I write grants. Because a part of the grant writing process is looking at data, right? So if you're writing a grant for the school districts, you got to look at, see what's going on with the schools. If you're writing a grant for a community reentry program, you got to see what's going on in the prisons. If you're writing a grant around health and a health program, you got to see what's going on with health disparities. So much of what I know and learn about Alabama and Birmingham is because of my history of grant writing. But what I want to say is that with the impact we've had dollar-wise, I'd like to be remembered for having the same kind of effect health-wise, right? Because even though now I'm talking about health, a lot of people still want to talk about grants. Yeah. And so I want to be remembered just as much for helping people to get healthy, helping people to be more informed about their health, helping people understand how they can benefit health-wise, helping to create healthier communities, to be as well known for this work as I am for the work that I've done for the last 16 years.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, that's good stuff. I mean, just the energy on both of them is good. You got the same energy on both sides. So, again, we thank you, and we will have you back. We thank you for tuning in. Please like and share.
Yes, and Yes You Yoga and Wellness is on Instagram.
Yes You Yoga and Wellness.
You Yoga _Wellness.
Okay.
On Instagram.
Okay.
And you can also have a Facebook group. You can also find my website at yesyouyoga.org.
Yesyouyoga.org. Mm-hmm. If you didn't hear it, yesyouyoga.org. So we thank you for tuning in. Please like and share. Tell your friends. Go get you some yoga. If you pay for me, I'll go with you. I'm just playing.
I was going to say, I'm going to hold you to that.
Yeah.
You know you're doing yoga in barbershop, but I do want to say thank you, not just for inviting me to come share about what I do, but thank you for all you do in our community. I've been knowing you for 21 years. Yeah. I've watched you quietly work, money raised for kids, working with the schools, having kids that you've mentored, young men that you've mentored, active politically, supporting campaigns, Urban League, United Negro College Fund. I mean, there are 1,000 things I could cite about you that just as you bringing people on to this platform to talk about what they do, I don't think that you get enough accolades for all you do in our community.
I appreciate it. I thank God, because God put me in a position to be able to help people, so I thank God for it all. And I've had a lot of people help me, so I want to return the favor as much as I can. So
we're blessed to be a blessing.
Yeah, that's right. That's it. That's it.
But a lot of people don't. They blessed. Yeah. They forget that be a blessing part.
Yeah, I'm very thankful.
So thank you.
So we want to give a shout out to our sponsors: Green Acres Chicken downtown, Green Acres Chicken Ensley, Green Acres Realty. We want to give a shout out to Blaze Hookah Lounge, Partners Tires. Go see Mike, and he has some real good deals at Partners Tires that's going on this week. So go to partnerstires.com and talk to Mike and look up Mike. He's the owner, and he has a very good knowledge of tires, and he can help you. Your Shelf Surf and Turf. Get the Birkin bag at Your Shelf. Get the Birkin bag. It's a drink. I don't drink, but everybody says it's really, really good. Or get you some lamb chops. But if you mention that you saw this podcast, ask for Kashif, and once you ask for Kashif, he's there. Tell him that you saw this on this podcast, and you get a discount. He has a new business, so I'm not gonna say that yet because I don't know the actual name. It used to be Caramba Tamales. I don't know if it's still the same. I don't know, but we'll be getting them to be one of our sponsors too. So I'd like to thank you for everything that you do, for all the likes and shares. The numbers are crazy; they're still going up, and I'm truly humbled. I really do appreciate everything. So we appreciate you. We're gonna get back at you.